In this lesson, we're going to continue our work with equations and go one step further. All right. Basic steps to these problems are no different. It's just that we're going to make them a little bit more difficult. Nothing too terrible. So solving two-step equations, well, they're called two-step for a reason. It should take you 2 steps of work in order to find the answer to the variable. So first off, we have 2 examples here. And notice that it says work on the side of the equation that contains the variable. Undo each operation that has been done to the variable, then undo addition and subtraction first. That's the big thing here. Now, if you are someone that prefers the variable to be on the left and it's not given to you on the left side of the equation, I'll show you what you can do in order to make it a little easier for yourself. But I'm going to start off with the first example here. 4a minus 5 equals 11. I'm always going to concentrate on my adding and subtracting first. So if I want to focus on getting that a completely alone, I'm going to first need to undo that minus 5. So hopefully now you're already shouting at your computer, well, to do that we need to add 5. And that's exactly what we're going to do to both sides of the equation. That way a minus 5 and a plus 5, that equals 0. Or in other words, they go away. So 4a would be completely alone on the left. 11 plus 5, that easily simplifies into a 16. Therefore, we've now done 1 step of work. But because they're called 2 steps, we need to do a second step. Getting the a by itself now at this point is going to require us to get rid of a times 4. Get rid of times. By now you definitely know that's done by division because dividing is the opposite of multiply. Whenever we have the same number on top and bottom, that makes them disappear, which leaves an a alone. 16 divided by 4 on the right-hand side simplifies to a 4. Now don't forget you can also check these answers as well. Take this 4, substitute it in for the a in the given problem, and hopefully when you do 4 times 4, 16, minus 5, does indeed give you the 11. So it's a nice easy way for you to check. Okay, let's move on to the next example, and here's one where the variable is not given to you on the left-hand side. If you are someone that prefers it on the left-hand side, you always have the option of flipping the problem backwards. Take everything that is after the equal sign and write it first. Take everything before the equal sign and write it last. Again, you don't have to do that, but if it's something that makes it a little bit easier for you, by all means, feel free. Focusing in on our addition and subtraction, in this case we have a plus 6 connected to the variable, so we're going to undo that through subtraction. And we're left with 2m equals negative 4. Second step of the problem solving process, get rid of that times 2. We're going to do that through division. And again, remember your rules for positives and negatives. A negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So as you can see here, we have 1 step of work, gets you to here. 2 steps of work, gets you to the answer. 2-step equations. Okay, let's try some more. And again, we're going to increase them in difficult level. All right, but again, it's nothing that you can't handle. In the first example here on this slide, it's written a little strange, but notice what you want to look for adding and subtracting. I see a plus sign, but I also want to make sure I'm adding the correct number. All right, in this case, the 12 is what's being added to the y variable. So in order to get rid of a plus 12, even though it's written sort of backwards, we're going to subtract 12 from both sides. Positive 12 and negative 12, they cancel out. So we're left with a y over 5. 18 minus 12 is going to give us a 6. That's our first step of the problem solving process. Now, again, we went over this in earlier sections. The the fraction bar does mean division. All right, so in other words, to get rid of that division, we're going to multiply both sides by the 5. Dividing by a 5 and multiplying by a 5 cancel each other out, and y is the only thing left on the left-hand side. 6 times 5 gives us 30. Again, now to check your answer, if we want to do that, we can get rid of this here. Just to show you that this is always an option for you to do, I'm going to take my 30 and plug it in where the y is located. So 12 plus 30 over 5 equals 18. Order of operations says that out of addition and division, division is done first. So I'm going to start with this 30 divided by 5. That simplifies into a 6. Bring down the rest of the problem. 12 plus 6, hopefully it equals 18. And indeed it does equal 18. So you know that 30 was the correct answer for y. Okay, moving on. Next example. Again, if you're someone who prefers that x term to be on the left, you're welcome to write it on the left. However, you don't have to. We can move things to the other side. Now, this example, things do get a little tricky as far as that minus sign. The minus sign in this case is showing that we're subtracting a 2/5 x. The 6 is positive. So in order to get that positive 6 away from this side, we're actually going to take away the 6. Okay? And this is one of the few instances where subtraction is a little misleading because the subtraction is actually connected to the fraction. So 6 minus 6 cancels out. 14 minus 6 gives us an 8. My minus sign, because there is no number in front of it now, it's really going to be treated as a negative sign. Now, for those of you using calculators at this point, it's easy enough for you to use division in order to get rid of the times negative 2/5. However, if you find yourself without a calculator, you may remember that dividing by a fraction can also be simplified by multiplying by the reciprocal. So if I multiply both sides by the reciprocal, I'm also going to get the x alone, because through cross-canceling, if I look at my right-hand side, I have my 5's on the same diagonal. I have my 2's on the same diagonal. Everything cancels out. And x is indeed alone. Multiplying on this side here, I can make my 8 into a fraction by putting it over 1. And now I can do some cross-canceling here as well. 2 and 8 are both divisible by a 2. So I'm going to take a 2 out of both. So what I'm left with here is a negative 5 over 1 times a 4 over 1, which simply equals negative 20. For example 6, I'm going to have you copy that into your notes and try it on your own. See what you get. By all means, if you have questions on it and you think that you may have done something wrong, bring it to your teacher as soon as you can to get your questions answered. But I'm going to jump right over to example 7 here. Upping the ante just a little bit here, notice that we've got two terms that can be combined because they are like terms due to the same variable. Definitely take care of that first. It's going to make things easier for you in this case. A 6j minus 5j is simply a 1j. And bring down everything else in the equation. Now it looks like a two-step equation. We're going to take care of our subtraction first, and in this case, to undo it, we're going to add a 16 to both sides. So that cancels and leaves us with a 1j on the left. Negative 4 plus a positive 16 is going to give us a positive 12. Now at this point, some of you may say, okay, I'm done. J equals 12, and that's fine. Realistically, because it is a two-step problem, just to prove it, to get rid of that 1, we would divide by a 1. 1 over 1 cancels, and 12 divided by 1 is indeed 12. One more problem. Don't be afraid of the fractions, because I'm actually going to show you a trick. If you're not using a calculator, which that's always great, notice that both fractions in this problem have a 2 in the denominator. There's a trick that you can do for any problem like this, and that is to take everything in the problem and multiply it by that common denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything in here by a 2. Doing so, 2 times 1/2, that's just 1. 2 times x over 2, the 2's are going to cross cancel again, similar to the last problem. So those will all cancel, and we're left with a 1 plus x. Negative 5 times 2, negative 10. The nice part of doing this trick is both of these equations have the exact same answer. And I think you would agree that this problem is much easier to solve for x than the given problem. So doing so, we need to undo the plus 1 by subtracting 1. X is alone. Negative 10 minus 1, negative 11. And we're finished. So by this point, you should be able to try the homework assignment for two-step equations. Again, if you have any questions at all, please come see your teacher at your earliest convenience. Good luck. Have a great day.